Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss the major astrology of November 2025. Yes, we move into the 11th month of this calendar year, and throughout November, we have a very strong influence of 6 to 7 planets in water signs. It changes since we're going to have Mercury and Mars moving forward into Sagittarius, and then we have Venus entering Scorpio this month too. But essentially, there's going to be a strong influence of feelings, emotions, intuitive downloads, and development of your psychic senses. There can be a lot moving through you, a lot that you're feeling this month. We're also going to have a need for greater privacy, feeling that we want to pull back and be more internal or reflective. The water signs are often nonverbal. And so there could be things that you're not sure how to say or how to express, but you're feeling it deeply and you're processing through it. And I think that's going to be something that unfolds throughout this month, is that you might find there's something you are processing at a core level of your being. New feelings are arising, new layers of it, new understandings are coming up, and you just need time and space to move with the energy. So that is going to be one of the main themes here of November. Now, another big theme is that Mercury retrograde starts this month, yes, on November 9th, as Mercury stations retrograde at 6 degrees 52 minutes of Sagittarius and will re-enter Scorpio and journey back to 20 degrees of Scorpio until the end of the month, November 29th. So you want to look in your chart where you have 6 degrees of Sagittarius back to 20 degrees of Scorpio, and this is where that Mercury retrograde is asking you to review, revise, reprioritize, reconsider, and also note that this is a dynamic Mercury retrograde because Mercury is going to be opposing Uranus 3 times. Yes, that's a big deal. Plus interacting with all of the other outer planets as well. This is an influential Mercury retrograde where secrets are revealed, the story is flipped, new information comes forward about an assumed narrative, more communications, ideas, projects, things transpiring and shifting form is also a part of this Mercury retrograde. There's going to be a lot that feels unstable and unknown, and that always serves a purpose in the higher realms. So I'm going to do a separate show on this Mercury retrograde, and that will happen on Monday, November 3rd. So next Monday, we'll go into more of the specifics of this Mercury retrograde since it is so active and even more turbulent since it's moving between Sagittarius and Scorpio. It's worth a deep dive, and we'll discuss it more on next Monday's show. But important to have the heads up that Mercury retrograde is essentially occurring throughout this month. Now, some other important shifts happen here in November. And in this episode, I give you an overview of the main themes of November. And then on the Wednesday shows, we go through the specifics of each week. So this helps you see what is unfolding throughout November and how to approach the month consciously and intentionally. So we have a Mercury retrograde, which means we have to be ready for changes in plans, cancellations, things falling through, travel delays, setbacks, all those things that are typical of a Mercury retrograde period will be coming up throughout the month. And then also this month on November 7th, Uranus retrograde re-enters Taurus and will stay in Taurus until the end of April 26, 2026. Now, Uranus first entered Taurus back in 2018, and Uranus is the sign of the awakener and the liberator. Uranus brings about sudden changes, shifts and developments, shocks and surprises, keeps us on our toes, and ultimately Uranus wants to free you from anything that isn't connected to your true authentic energy field. Uranus awakens you to where you've been held back and demonstrates that you have more potential here than perhaps you first saw or noticed. Uranus wants to free you from an unconscious cage. Uranus is very independent, very smart. It's also where your soul comes through and jolts you with unexpected brilliance, unexpected awareness. I feel that this Uranus can also powerfully activate our psychic abilities and our intense knowingness. Uranus can open up your claircognizance, which is where you tune into knowingness. You just know it. You just know something is true. You know it's real. It's the spark of the divine coming through, blasting through your energy field and giving you a download. This is one way that Uranus works very strongly with us. And it's partly how we're able to remember that we're so much more than this particular lifetime or this particular physical self. Uranus in Taurus has been shaking up our comfort zones. So if you were to look in your chart at where you have a house or houses in Taurus, look at what has drastically changed for you since 2018 in terms of your self-worth, self-value, creativity, personal finances, what you own and what you invest in, what you find meaningful and valuable in your life. This transiting Uranus and Taurus has jolted you out of one comfort zone and required you to rebuild. Taurus is the builder. Taurus builds based on what you want and what you value, also based on the practical restraints of life, working within certain boundaries, the boundaries of a paycheck, the boundaries of your savings account, brings you into greater awareness of what you want more of and how to make moves to get it, to accumulate it. Uranus in Taurus is shaking up what we thought our lives would always be, destabilizing those foundations, asking us, requiring us to move quickly, to make sudden shifts, to build again. But there's also been a sense of, am I building this on a tectonic plate? Because it keeps shifting, it keeps changing. And so as Uranus re-enters Taurus on November 7th and stays here for about another 5 months, we are revisiting parts of ourselves that have already experienced a lot of dynamic change. And Uranus says, we're not done yet. There's still more here that we can switch up because it's holding you back or it's not in alignment with your true authentic self. So this is that Uranus and Taurus creating more instability at 27, 28, 29 degrees of Taurus in your chart, asking you to let go of what you no longer want or value. Are you clutching onto something that truly doesn't resonate anymore, but it's giving the illusion or the temporary understanding of safety? Is there something here that has served its purpose, but you've been afraid to release it and move on? Because Uranus is going to require more life changes. And honestly, it works better in some signs than in others. Taurus is one of the signs that it works with slowly, and there can be a lot of resistance from that Taurus energy. Because Taurus wants a comfort zone, wants what is known in your life to maintain the same, wants the consistency, and Uranus isn't having it. So in the late degrees of Taurus in your chart, more changes are to come, more shocks, more surprises, but chances are you've already had a heads up around what they are since Uranus has already covered this territory of your chart earlier this year. Uranus moved into Gemini, opened up our perceptions, ideas, what is possible, new ways of considering how to live our lives, what we could do with greater efficiency or convenience. And now we're returning to the practical, solid domains of Taurus to assess, maybe I don't need this anymore. It's okay to throw this out. It's okay to not do this anymore. I'm ready for a change of pace. So what is holding me back or preventing me from moving forward into the new frequencies that Uranus in Gemini is going to bring forward even more in 2026 and beyond? And as Uranus returns to Taurus and hangs out at 29 degrees of Taurus, Uranus is going to make a beautiful sextile to Neptune retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces, giving you more intuitive insights and awareness around the next vision. This is receptive energies. This is where you get that answer or understanding out of the blue. Your claircognizance just knows, it just understands exactly what is necessary or exactly what to do. And there is a peaceful flow associated with this sextile as well. With Neptune back in Pisces, maybe you've noticed some changes in your sleep, dreams, or meditations. Perhaps they are feeling more fluid and easier to receive. Neptune in Pisces is completing some major energies at this time, and we've talked about that a few times on this podcast because this influence has been unfolding since 2024. Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees allows us to exist in a void of emptiness, a void of potentials that aren't fully realized. And the sextile from Uranus and Taurus is going to give you more of those realizations that you're ready for. There is a big shift in our consciousness when Uranus and Neptune are in this type of sextile. We grow spiritually. We expand in our understanding of energetics. We open up to more cosmic influences. And again, this is all helping us ascend to reach higher levels of enlightenment and to be ready for the new starts that will fully come in 2026. So there's a lot about November that can help you in developing your claircognizance, your psychic abilities, your intuitive messages, trusting what you're receiving even more, and understanding this is all a part of your innate soul frequency. This is all a part of who you are as a limitless source of energy. This also means that you're going to have information available more readily. You're going to have your answers faster, and you're going to know what to do next more quickly. It's just going to flow in, and it could feel like divine timing is even stronger for you with this particular aspect. In fact, it's stronger for everyone, but you have to be at the right frequency to trust it and to get it. And this is part of the journey where it's quite personal to trust what you're receiving and what you're getting. Now, we also have a water grand trine that's unfolding into mid-December. I've been talking about that, and I did a separate podcast episode for you on that. But know that this water grand trine is also heightening so many of our intuitive senses. You could feel like you're elevating to a whole new level of psychic abilities, and it's quite personal. It's quite internal. It's not something that other people can validate for you. But there's going to be answers and information that arrive for you in a very clear, pure way. For example, one thing that I have worked with for a number of years now is when I wake up in the morning, I just know things. I just know information. I know facts. It's like it's been downloaded as I've slept. I'm sure many of you have the same experience, but that's how my claircognizance works. And I remember a few years ago, I received a download about what some people were doing, and I just instantly knew what was true, what was real. And so I kindly moved that person to the friend zone. I said, this is over. I'm not going to be involved in this kind of deceptive lies or energy. I'm just not here for it. And so not only was it a very clear psychic message about the truth of what was happening behind the scenes, 2 years ago, but I was able to move consciously and simply trust it and understand these aren't my people. These are not my people. And that's one thing that comes up here in Scorpio season, okay? That's going to be a big theme here, especially as we relate it to how soul groups are changing, soul tribes are evolving, our ascension abilities are taking us to new heights and new places in our own potentials. It means that you understand who people really are, and you also can powerfully see them at a core level. So you could understand these aren't my people, because the people who are of my same frequency don't behave like this. Don't act like this. Don't do these silly games and get involved in all these deceptive practices. Not my people. So you might find yourself being very clear in what you're separating out here during Scorpio season, because that's one of the gifts of Scorpio. Scorpio shows you what you're meant to let go of, what is ready to die and be complete so that you can evolve it into a new empowered expression for yourself. Scorpio season happens as we we prepare for winter, right? This is the fall in the northern hemisphere. And so I think of an apple and how when an apple is at its ripe, healthiest state, you pick it, you enjoy the apple, you've got your harvest. But if you allow that apple to stay on the tree for too long, it's going to fall off. It starts to rot. It starts to disintegrate into the earth. And so one of the ways to work with a harvest is to not only pick the harvest, but then to know, okay, if I can't eat all these apples right now, I will transform them into apple cider. I will make some apple cider vinegar. What will I take with this harvest, with this abundance of plenty that I have, and work with the natural transformation of the season? This is also a time when people do their canning work if they need to stockpile for the winter and if they're living off grid or in a remote area. You look at how something is presented in one form, transform it into another resource. Scorpio is asking you to take what you've accumulated and look at how to transform it in a way that empowers you, that brings you in to more wisdom, more self-love, a higher standard of quality relationships, connections, people in your life. Scorpio says, cut off those who hold you back. Allow things to be complete. If something has run its course, it's over. It's done. There's no do-overs. There's no correcting the past. When people are disrespectful, untrustworthy, gullible, that's who they are, right? That's their character. And so you have to be very honest with yourself about what energies are correct for you, where there is alignment and where there is not alignment. Scorpio season is when we get into the psyche of the human spirit and the human motivation, and we understand more of what drives us as well as what drives others. It's why you can go into a space and you're picking up on other people's energies or intentions quite easily, because Scorpio is tapping in to what's behind the scenes and what's under the surface. That's also why Scorpio energy is not going to trust people easily or quickly. Understanding that trust is earned. Quality relationships are developed and built. They're based on mutual investment. Both people coming forward with an openness, being trustworthy, being honest and self-aware. Scorpio also wants to invite in intimacy, the ability to be emotionally intimate, to honor your fears and who you really are. There can be a beautiful vulnerability in Scorpio energy. There can also be a desire to face a part of yourself you've been afraid to look at. Scorpio is where we call in those people who can journey with us into some of these maybe more fearful or darker places. That's why Scorpio is associated with the therapist, counselor, healer, psychiatrist, someone who can help you understand more of who you are by asking those deep probing questions. Scorpio season is especially pronounced this year because of the many planets moving through Scorpio, plus, of course, that ongoing water grand trine to Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces. So note that there's a lot of movement here this month, and you're going to feel it at an emotional core. You're going to feel something move through you that maybe you're not even sure how to describe. Also, it is the year of the snake, and it's the year of doing deep internal transformative work. And we don't always see that show up until the end, because it isn't until the very last part of the transformation that the snake molts its skin. The removal of the skin is the last thing that happens because it's all happening internally. So the year of the snake is also connected to Kundalini rising energies, to what we are awakening within ourselves that is meant to awaken us to more of our innate energy field, spiritual belief, and psychic senses. Kundalini energy will get the prana moving in your energy field, and this can even be discomfort. It can reveal blockages. So if you have any blockages, especially in the spine or up through the back of your body, you might want to check in and determine, is this connected with a Kundalini rising experience that's blocked or held down? What does this signify? What does this mean? Because I think that during this year of the snake, we are meant to see those blockages dissolved dissolved and removed, and even to see that Kundalini energy going higher than what you initially expected. An intense metamorphosis can be happening throughout November, and that you feel deeply and personally. I'm even seeing it working with the water molecules in our bodies. With all this water movement this month, you could desire to drink more water. You could feel like you're gaining water weight. You could want to be around water more often, more regularly, take more baths, take longer showers. You could be connecting to the energetic flow of water and how it is bringing up previous lifetimes connected to the water, because now I'm feeling this really strong energy of Lemuria, and that part of this water grand trine is activating deep soul remembrances from Lemuria. And if you're having any dreams or meditations that involve water temples, the ocean, light codes in the ocean, islands, sea life, new creative frequencies, new visions of communities, all of that is coming up really strongly here with this big water grand trine and as we move through November. And what it feels like is that it's a remembrance of higher states of love, connection, joy, and peace that our souls know, and that we have the power to recall more of those visceral experiences that could also be that jolt of knowingness that you got or that you're waking up to. I'm also feeling that this energy of November is expanding the heart chakra. It's expanding it open with strength, with power. It feels like it's even glowing in these new frequencies, which is interesting because we associate Scorpio with more darkness and the shadows. But I'm seeing a heart energy that's coming alive, and maybe it's coming from these other dimensions and realms, but it's really getting strength here from this open flow of the water grand trine. Because the water grand trine wants us to connect with ourselves at a very pure, loving, self-compassionate level, and then to extend that to others. And it's interesting because now I'm seeing that part of the water grand trine is helping us to regrid emotional frequencies on the planet, and that it's asking each of us to be more aware of your energetic state on a regular basis, because it is regridding the planet. It's creating these new linkages. I don't know how else to describe it. It just looks like these new linkages moving around the earth, certainly moving with the water, with the currents. This could also mean that we're going to see some big ocean changes this month. Water movement can be quite strong. There can be more weather systems that are happening all around the globe. The Atlantic hurricane season lasts until the end of November every year. But from an energetic sense, it can also remind us of our unity consciousness, that we're all here on the planet together, and that if we can have compassion for each other and what we're moving through, that will soften the intensity and the edges, that will remind us of our humanness and our ability to have empathy for one another. So also this month, Jupiter in Cancer stations retrograde at 25 degrees. So Jupiter entered Cancer back in early June 9th, and has made it all the way to 25 degrees of Cancer, and now will station retrograde and travel back to 15 degrees of Cancer until March 10th. So in your chart, between 25 to 15 degrees of Cancer, Jupiter is doing his big rewind and is asking you to become more self-aware of the emotional energy you're holding at a personal level. Now, Cancer is the only water sign associated with the self, with just yourself. Scorpio is about how you merge energies with others. Pisces is about how you merge energies with spirit. But Cancer is about how you feel on your own, and to be aware of what is residing within you. It's connected to where you've come from, your family, your nuclear family, your hometown, and your home base. At a personal level, Cancer is how you formed your first emotional attachments to loved ones. Cancer rules the womb, the breasts, the soft tissue in the body. It's connected with breastfeeding. It's connected with how you felt safe and taken care of from a very young age. And so the Cancer energy stirs up parts of our unconscious self and memories that reside within us that we have consciously forgotten. But it is your attachment style. It's how you trust people, if you trust people. It's how you are able to share what you're truly feeling and be vulnerable with others. It's also about your sensitivities, what you're feeling in an immediate environment. It opens up where you want to go at the end of the day to feel safe, to be done with the day, to take a break and enjoy a good meal. So Cancer is a very loving, kind energy. It's where we go to relax and feel safe. So as Jupiter retrogrades through this sign, you're going to have more levels of personal awareness and wisdom come forward around where you've come from, what affected you at a young age. You could have some really unexpected memories that come up about childhood, places you've been, people you've known, anything from the past can also be quite big with this Jupiter in Cancer. So this energy is going to basically bring you into more of your heart, more of your emotional self. You could feel quite sentimental or nostalgic, thinking about the good old days, even going back and looking at old photographs. But whenever Jupiter stations retrograde, there's something we're meant to learn. We're meant to see it through a bigger lens. We're meant to understand it at a more personal level. So that will be one of the influences here of November. And then later on at the end of the month, on November 27th, Saturn stations direct at 25 degrees of Pisces. And this means that Saturn is trining Jupiter at 25 degrees of Cancer for most of this month. And so there's a stability here between these two. There's a sense of moderation and regulation. There's the ability to hold strong in what you're feeling and what you need. You could also sense that you're more mature or that you're willing to learn from something in order to let it go. Because this energy in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, is highlighting what you're closing out and moving away from. And this is not new energy. It's already been in motion. It's already been something you've been aware of since April of this year. That's the last time when Saturn was at 25 degrees of Pisces. So there's important closures that are happening now. And the trine to Jupiter brings about victories, abundance, positivity, supportive developments, and a feel-good nature. I just want to emphasize how lovely this trine is between the two, because both are connected to manifesting. Saturn is what you manifest in the physical. Jupiter is what you manifest with spirit that comes through easily. So this can be a time of manifesting some really beautiful high vibe feelings. This can bring about love, compassion, joy, happiness, peace. There could be something here that you're so glad is over and complete for you, and you just feel that you're ready to move on and turn a page. You could feel that spiritual blockages are dissolving, that your emotional world is evolving, and that you are set free from matters of the past. Saturn is still in a conjunction, though, with this Neptune in Pisces. So we are tending to some important spiritual lessons. And with these two in a conjunction, things just take time. You can't rush it. You can't rush Neptune and you can't rush Saturn, especially when both are in Pisces. So instead, it's tuning into the higher frequencies of love, kindness, compassion, and self-forgiveness. It's allowing yourself to continually unravel what is complete and to know that the universe is supporting you, because that is one of the strengths of these Pisces energies. Now, I do have to mention that Jupiter, getting back to Jupiter in Cancer, is in that ongoing square to Chiron in Aries, and this continues into early 2026. And that square is important because it's bringing up parts of yourself that you haven't fully loved and accepted. It could relate to a core self-confidence issue. It could relate to anything blocked in your self-identity, your independence, your personal courage. And it's meant to come forward and be healed. But I'm seeing it being healed in such a loving, compassionate way that it almost overrides some of this personal sovereignty that the Chiron in Aries wants. Meaning Chiron in Aries is prone to doing things on one's own. But there's a sense here of, well, you got to ask for help. You've got to reach out. You can lean on other people for their strength and their talents. And so there could be something that you're forced to do that maybe feels really vulnerable. But what I'm seeing is that with this Jupiter also trining Saturn, there's a sense of karmic balancing. It's like this Saturn brings in what is owed to you or what you've accumulated in other lifetimes that can now benefit you. And that is one influence of a trine, is that you have these positive kickbacks. You have good karma flowing in and showing up to support you now. And so this Jupiter's in an interesting position because Jupiter is squaring Chiron, which brings up wounding to the self, brings up where you're learning to fully accept more of who you are at a core level. But then Jupiter trines Saturn, which says you've got this, you're doing this. The energy is flowing in to help you heal this and to work with this at an emotional level. So Jupiter is definitely feeling a lot here throughout November, and Saturn is supporting Jupiter, and then the ongoing water grand trine with the planets moving through Scorpio are also supporting this Jupiter in Cancer. I feel there's a lot of wisdom this month. There's a lot of realizations, a lot of things that you're going to just sense or feel what you need to know, what the truth is, what the real knowledge may be, and all of it is moving us forward. I mean, this is a turning point month of moving us into new chapters. I feel that it's very preparatory for 2026. I feel that what we are understanding here in November is helping to set the stage for what we fully embrace and claim in 2026. Now, things can happen faster than that. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen until January or February. But what I'm feeling is that November asks you to stand in the power of your truth, the power of who you are now as you merge with your soul's wisdom, as you merge with the fullness of who you are. You invite in all of your higher energies, especially across multiple dimensions and lifetimes, and you allow that to guide you forward. And I'm seeing too that doorways are closing and paths are changing. Not everyone is meant to travel with us long term. And with the speed of these energies, how quickly things are accelerating, you have to be very honest with yourself around who is keeping pace with you, who is traveling with you and alongside you, who is an equal, who is showing up in a reciprocal manner, meaning they're able to give to you and support you on your path. And then you're recognizing those who are on a very different path, a different speed, a different trajectory. And of course, in the higher realms, this is all beautiful and perfect. This all serves a purpose. And by the end of the month, as Saturn stations direct on November 27th and Mercury stations direct at 20 degrees of Scorpio, you're going to have clearer feelings and wisdom around what is truly in alignment for you because of what has been purged in November. There are also more divine connections coming through. More partnerships, divine unions, power couples, friendships, allies. I see the energy really strong between two people, more so than groups. But it's sort of like when two people come together or you make a new friend and then you meet their circle or you meet their world, then the energy starts to grow. But it feels like there's a really beautiful focus on what is ready to merge and interact, especially because we have to remember that Earth is a planet for humans. This is a space for us. This is our domain, and it's up to us to be very intentional with what we focus on, including prioritizing human relationships, prioritizing each other, quality, good people, people that you laugh with, that you enjoy being with, that are good for your soul. That is one of the main intentions of this planet. We're not meant to be on our phones or to only be interacting with devices and technology and all these robotics that are coming out. We're meant to prioritize each other. And as long as we keep doing that, we're going to maintain a very important frequency on the planet. And prioritizing human relationships and human connections is also going to help us in delaying singularity. Singularity is when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, but I'm thinking of it in terms of prioritizing human relationships and human connections, and that it is up to us to maintain those dynamics. So November is quite a big month, which has been the case for every month of 2025. And there is beautiful potential this month to awaken more in our heart chakras, to elevate our psychic abilities, to continue to trust our intuitive downloads and messages, and to develop really beautiful relationships with each other. As I mentioned, this is just an overview of some of the general themes of the month. On the Wednesday show, I'll go through more of the specifics of each week, and that's because there's a lot of aspects happening in November. There's no way to cover it all in one show. It would be way too overwhelming anyway. So I hope you'll join me on Wednesday's podcast as we discuss more of what is happening week by week in November, as well as some of the big aspects here that are playing out as we close out 2025. As always, wishing you a beautiful month ahead. I hope that this month activates some powerful gifts for you. And as always, I look forward to connecting with you again soon. So I'll see you back here for our next podcast episode.